Hello, welcome to Capital Sensei. Today, we're going to dive deep into a book with a title that makes you nod your head and say, exactly. It's called Why Didn't They Teach Me This in School by Cary Siegel. We'll unpack the 99 personal finance principles he lays out for his own children, covering everything from the absolute basics of budgeting and saving to the power of compound interest, how to wisely use credit, understand the stock market, and ultimately build real, lasting wealth. Whenever we can, we do our best to answer questions in the comments section. Financial journeys are personal and often come with very specific questions. So please, feel free to share your thoughts, your own financial lessons, or any questions you might have. Your story could be the exact thing someone else needs to read to have their own light bulb moment. So, let's talk about this book. Cary Siegel wasn't a professional author when he wrote it. He was a retired business executive who, as he prepared to send his 5 children out into the world, had a startling realization. He had taught them a lot, but he and their schools had completely skipped over one of the most critical subjects for a successful life: personal finance. So, he sat down and wrote a small guidebook for them, a collection of everything he wished he'd known earlier. It turned out that his kids weren't the only ones who needed it. The book is brilliant in its simplicity. It's broken down into 99 easy-to-digest principles. We're not going to list all 99 one by one, because that would be like reading a dictionary. Instead, we're going to pull out the absolute cornerstones, the big ideas that support everything else. Siegel's first major lesson revolves around a concept you've probably heard of, but maybe never truly implemented: paying yourself first. Think about how you handle your bills. When the electricity bill comes, you pay it. When the rent is due, you pay it. There's no debate. Siegel argues that your savings should be treated as the most important bill you have. It's a non-negotiable payment to your future self. Before you pay for groceries, before you pay for gas, before you buy anything, you take a portion of your income, say 10 or 15%, and you move it directly into a savings or investment account. It's the first transaction you make, not the last. This simple shift in mindset is profound. Most people do the opposite. They spend their money all month and then hope there's something left over to save. That's like eating dessert first and hoping you'll still have room for vegetables. It rarely works. By paying yourself first, you are prioritizing your financial future. You force yourself to live on the remaining amount, which is a much more effective strategy for building wealth than just relying on leftover scraps. Now, to do that effectively, you need to know where your money is going. This brings us to the dreaded B word, budgeting. People hear budget and they think of restriction, of spreadsheets, of being told no. But that's the wrong way to look at it. A budget isn't a financial prison. It's a financial plan. It's you telling your money where to go, instead of wondering where it went. Think of it like this. If you were building a house, you wouldn't just show up with a pile of wood and start nailing boards together randomly. You'd have a blueprint. A budget is the blueprint for your financial life. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can use an app, a spreadsheet, or even just a simple notebook. List your income. List your fixed expenses, rent, utilities, car payments. Then list your variable expenses, groceries, gas, entertainment. The goal is to make your income minus your expenses greater than zero. That positive difference is your power. It's your saving, your investing, your debt repayment fuel. One of the most eye-opening parts of budgeting is confronting your spending habits. Siegel talks about the difference between needs and wants, which is the absolute core of mindful spending. A need is something you require for survival and basic well-being: food, shelter, water, basic transportation. A want is everything else. The line can get blurry, and that's where we get into trouble. For example, you need a phone to stay connected for work and safety. That's a need. But do you need the brand new $1,500 model that comes out every single year when your current one works perfectly fine? That's a want. You need food. But do you need to eat out for lunch every single day? That's a want. Recognizing this difference isn't about depriving yourself of all joy. It's about making conscious choices. It's about deciding if that daily $5 specialty coffee is truly worth the $1,825 a year it costs you. Money that, as we'll see later, could be worth tens of thousands of dollars in the future. This naturally leads us to the topic of credit and debt. In our modern economy, it's almost impossible to function without using credit in some form. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Siegel frames credit cards as tools. A hammer is a tool. You can use it to build a beautiful house. Or if you're careless, you can smash your thumb. A credit card is the same. It can be a convenient way to pay for things and build a good credit history. But if used irresponsibly, it can smash your financial future. The key principle is to treat your credit card like a debit card. This means only charging what you can afford to pay off in full every single month. The moment you carry a balance, you've started a fire. Credit card interest rates are often absurdly high, sometimes over 20 or even 25%. Paying that kind of interest is like trying to run up a down escalator. You're putting in a lot of effort just to stay in the same place, or worse, go backwards. Your reward for using credit responsibly is a good credit score. What is that exactly? Think of it as your financial report card. It's a number, usually between 300 and 850, that tells lenders how trustworthy you are with borrowed money. A high score tells them you pay your bills on time and don't bite off more than you can chew. A low score signals risk. And this score has a massive impact on your life. It determines the interest rate you'll get on a car loan or a mortgage. A person with a 760 score might get a mortgage at 6%, while someone with a 640 score might be offered the same loan at 7.5%. That 1.5% difference may not sound like much, but on a $300,000 30-year mortgage, it adds up to a lot of money. It can mean paying over $100,000 more in interest over the life of the loan. $100,000, all because of a 3-digit number. It also affects things you wouldn't expect, like car insurance premiums and even job applications in some fields. Building and protecting your credit score is not an optional side quest. It's a main part of the game. Now, let's get to the part that really excites me as an investor, and the part that truly separates those who build wealth from those who don't. This is the magic of investing and compound interest. Albert Einstein is often quoted as having called compound interest the 8th wonder of the world, and for good reason. It's the financial equivalent of a snowball rolling down a very, very long hill. Here's how it works. When you invest money, you earn a return. Let's say you invest $1,000 and earn a 10% return in a year. You now have $1,100. Simple enough. But here's where the magic happens. The next year, you don't just earn a return on your original $1,000. You earn it on the full $1,100. So your next 10% return is $110, not $100. Now you have $1,210. Your money is making money, and then the money your money made starts making its own money. This might sound slow at first, but over time, the effect is explosive. Let's look at a classic example. Imagine two friends, Anna and Ben. Anna starts investing $200 a month at age 25. She does this consistently until she's 65. Ben, on the other hand, waits until he's 35 to start. He also invests $200 a month until he's 65. They both earn the same average annual return of, say, 8%. Anna invested for 40 years, putting in a total of $96,000 of her own money. Ben invested for 30 years, putting in a total of $72,000. The difference in their contribution is just $24,000. But what about the final outcome? By age 65, Ben's portfolio would be worth around $270,000. Not bad. But Anna, her portfolio would be worth over $620,000. That's a difference of $350,000. That extra decade of compounding more than doubled her final wealth. The most powerful ingredient in the recipe for wealth is time. The earlier you start, the more powerful your results. So where do you put this money to work? For most people, the answer is the stock market. And I know, the stock market can sound intimidating. It's often portrayed as a chaotic casino where slick traders in expensive suits are gambling away fortunes. But that's not what it is for a long-term investor. When you buy a stock, you are not just buying a ticker symbol on a screen. You are buying a small, fractional ownership stake in a real, operating business. If you buy a share of Apple, you literally own a tiny piece of the company that makes iPhones and MacBooks. If you buy a share of Coca-Cola, you own a tiny piece of the company that sells beverages all over the globe. As these companies grow, innovate, and generate profits, the value of your ownership stake, your stock, tends to increase. You are partnering with some of the most successful enterprises in the world. But wait, you might say, picking individual stocks sounds risky. What if I pick the wrong one? And you're right, it can be. This is why Siegel and pretty much every sound financial advisor advocates for diversification. And the easiest way to diversify is through things called mutual funds or exchange-traded funds, also known as ETFs. Think of a mutual fund or an ETF as a basket. Instead of going to the store and trying to pick the single best apple, you buy a pre-made basket of fruit that contains apples, oranges, bananas, and grapes. In financial terms, instead of trying to pick the one winning stock, you buy a fund that holds hundreds or even thousands of different stocks. For example, an S&P 500 index fund holds stock in the 500 largest companies in the United States. This is incredibly powerful. By owning this one fund, you are instantly diversified. If one company in the basket has a bad year, it doesn't sink your entire portfolio because you have 499 others that are likely doing just fine. It's the financial embodiment of the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. For the vast majority of people, buying low-cost, broad-market index funds is the most sensible, effective, and time-tested way to invest in the stock market. The key to succeeding with this strategy is adopting a long-term mindset. Investing is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a get-rich-slowly plan. It's like planting an oak tree. You don't plant the acorn and then dig it up every day to check on the roots. You plant it, you water it, you give it sunlight, and you let it grow for decades. The stock market is the same. There will be storms. There will be seasons where the market goes down. These are called bear markets or corrections, and they are a normal, natural part of the economic cycle. The biggest mistake new investors make is panicking during these downturns. They see their portfolio value drop by 20% and they sell everything, locking in their losses. This is the equivalent of jumping off a roller coaster in the middle of a dip. The successful investor understands that these downturns are temporary. They not only hold on, but they continue to invest. Why? Because they're effectively buying stocks on sale. This leads to a simple yet brilliant strategy called dollar cost averaging. It sounds technical, but it's incredibly simple. It just means investing a fixed amount of money at regular intervals, like $200 every single month, regardless of what the market is doing. When the market is high, your $200 buys fewer shares. When the market is low, that same $200 buys more shares. Over time, this strategy automatically makes you buy more when prices are cheap and less when they are expensive. It takes the emotion and guesswork out of trying to time the market, which is a fool's errand that even most professionals can't do successfully. Next, let's talk about the biggest purchase most people will ever make: a house. The classic debate is renting versus buying. Siegel points out there's no single right answer. It depends on your life circumstances. Renting offers flexibility. If you get a job offer in another city, you can just wait for your lease to end and move. There are no surprise repair bills for a broken water heater. Buying, on the other hand, is a way to build equity. Equity is the portion of the house's value that you actually own. When you first buy a house with a mortgage, you might only have a small amount of equity. But as you pay down your mortgage each month, and as the value of the house hopefully appreciates over time, your equity grows. It's a forced savings plan that can turn into a significant asset over the long term. If you do decide to buy, you'll almost certainly need a mortgage. This is a loan from a bank to buy the house. The two most common types are the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage and the 15-year fixed-rate mortgage. Many people automatically opt for the 30-year loan because the monthly payment is lower. This seems logical, but what they often fail to appreciate is the staggering difference in the total amount of interest paid. Let's use an example. Suppose you take out a $400,000 mortgage at a 6% interest rate. With a 30-year mortgage, your monthly principal and interest payment would be about $2,400. Over 30 years, you would pay back the $400,000 you borrowed, plus an additional $480,000 in interest. You'd pay more in interest than the original loan amount. Now, let's look at a 15-year mortgage for that same loan. The monthly payment would be higher, around $3,400. That's about $1,000 more per month, which is a significant chunk of change. But look at the interest. Over 15 years, you would pay a total of about $210,000 in interest. By choosing the 15-year option, you would save $270,000 in interest payments and own your home free and clear in half the time. If you can afford the higher payment, a 15-year mortgage is one of the most powerful wealth-building moves you can make. Another topic schools definitely don't cover is insurance. Most people see insurance as just another annoying bill, but it's more accurate to think of it as a risk management tool. You are paying a small, predictable amount of money to protect yourself from a large, unpredictable, and potentially catastrophic financial loss. It's a safety net. Think about it. You don't want your house to burn down, but if it does, homeowners insurance prevents you from being completely wiped out financially. You don't plan on getting into a car accident, but if you do, auto insurance covers the massive costs of repairs and medical bills. Health insurance is perhaps the most critical in countries like the United States, where a single major medical event can lead to hundreds of thousands of dollars in bills and is a leading cause of bankruptcy. You pay for insurance hoping you'll never have to use it, but knowing that if the worst happens, you have a shield. Finally, Siegel ties everything together with lessons on financial mindset and habits. This is arguably the most important part, because without the right mindset, none of the tactics we've discussed will stick. The absolute foundation of all of this is the principle of living below your means. This does not mean being cheap or miserly. It simply means ensuring that your lifestyle costs less than your income. You must create a gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap is everything. It's your savings. It's your investments. It's your freedom. The bigger that gap, the faster you can achieve your financial goals. This is why you see stories of people with modest salaries, like teachers or janitors, who manage to accumulate million-dollar fortunes. It's not because they won the lottery. It's because for decades, they consistently spent less than they earned and invested the difference wisely. Another crucial mindset point is about communication, especially with a life partner. Money is one of the biggest sources of stress and conflict in relationships. If one partner is a diligent saver and the other is a compulsive spender, you're on a collision course. It's essential to get on the same page about your financial goals and values. You need to work as a team, creating a budget together, setting savings goals together, and celebrating your financial wins together. A shared financial vision can strengthen a relationship immeasurably. Siegel also stresses the importance of continuous learning. The financial world is not static. Tax laws change. New investment products are created. The economy shifts. You don't need to become a Wall Street expert, but you do need to commit to being a lifelong learner when it comes to your own money. Read books, listen to podcasts, follow reputable financial news. Taking an active interest in your finances is one of the best investments you can make in yourself. Nobody will ever care more about your money than you do. And that really gets to the heart of why this book's title resonates so deeply. These aren't complex derivatives or advanced macroeconomic theories. These are fundamental life skills. Knowing how to manage a budget, understanding the destructive power of high-interest debt, and appreciating the incredible wealth-building engine of compound interest are as essential to a good life as knowing how to read or write. The principles laid out by Cary Siegel aren't get-rich-quick secrets. They are simple, time-tested truths. They require discipline, patience, and a long-term perspective. They require you to trade some instant gratification today for a much larger reward in the future. It's about building a solid foundation, brick by brick, so that you can construct a life of financial security and freedom. A life where you control your money, instead of your money controlling you.